Welcome to The Fire Within. I'm your host, Joel Young. We're taking another look at the life of an entrepreneurial industry leader in the Okanagan. 10 years ago, when my wife and I moved from the prairies to central Okanagan, I had the privilege for the first couple of years of meeting a lot of the technology industry leaders. Today, my guest is one of those such leaders. I'd like to introduce you to Jason Richards, who has worn many hats and the coat of many colors over the last number of years. Jason, thank you for coming. I thought maybe we'd start our visit today with the viewers, and if you just give everyone a short biographical story of the roads you've traveled to get you to sitting with me today in Prospera Place at the show.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Joel. It was a short road I traveled because my office is just down the street, so that was nice. But I actually grew up, spent high school in the Okanagan. I went to high school in Vernon, and then did my post-secondary education right here back when it was Okanagan University College up at the now what's UBC North Kelowna campus. After that, I had an amazing tech job opportunity right here in Kelowna with a company called Workfire Technologies run by another tech leader back in the day, Tom Taylor. And within a year, we were acquired by a Silicon Valley company called Packeteer. It was actually a wildly successful transaction at the time. One of Canada's largest software acquisitions. I think it was around $100 million that they paid for Workfire. That was my introduction to what tech was. You know, it started with this tiny little tech company, and all of a sudden we were acquired for $100 million. It was almost surreal. And shortly after, I had the opportunity then to actually take up a job based out of Silicon Valley, Cupertino, actually right across the street from Apple headquarters. So that was pretty exciting. There was a 4-story banner of Steve Jobs' face draped over the front of the Apple building, and that was my introduction to Silicon Valley. It was pretty neat. It was a reminiscent of the famous Macintosh 1984 commercial that Steve Jobs did. This big black and white ominous Steve Jobs face looking over our office building in Silicon Valley. But that was an amazing experience, you know, to work, and just you're smack in the center of seeing everything come up from Apple to Google to Facebook to, you know, the industry giants that started there like Hewlett Packard and IBM and getting a taste of what, you know, that technology industry was really like. And after a number of years with Packeteer and a couple other technology security companies, I had the opportunity to come back with my wife, who's born and raised here, right here in Kelowna. So she had some strong roots here, and we came back to Kelowna and started our own security-oriented technology company called Vineyard Networks. And I think that's right around the first time we met.
That's right, exactly.
We had a really amazing team. We built an amazing team right here. We brought some people up from Silicon Valley. We had some incredible people right here from Kelowna. Grew that team to about 40 people right here in Kelowna, and then sold that to another Silicon Valley company called Procera Networks in 2013. So at that point, actually, I was fortunate enough to take a couple of years off. So I took a few years away from not just tech, but from working, and spent a lot of time with my kids. And then in the last year, we've started a new company called Change Gamers. So completely different space, but back sort of into the technology and social entrepreneurship part of my life right now.
What is Change Gamers? So
Change Gamers is a set of software tools that are delivered primarily over mobile devices like iPods and iPhones and Android phones and things like that. But it's targeted to empower kids to get more involved with charity and nonprofits. So we keep telling all our kids that, you know, you need to be more socially aware, you need to be more active, you need to make the world a better place. And we're passing, of course, a lot of challenges on to the next generation. But there's really nothing out there that empowers a kid and just, you know, enables a kid to go and get involved. So we take them all the way from learning about things that they care about all the way up to micro fundraising, volunteering, donations, sharing it with their friends, and submitting and creating their own content about stuff that they care about.
I like the sound of that. That's not what I thought Game Changers was about, but boy, it really opens up the door for young people to start thinking about different avenues to travel in their young lives.
I think it's going to be a fun project. We're just about to start testing with kids, so we're pretty excited. So,
how did you become involved in the world of technology entrepreneurship when you started your journeys?
That's a great question. It certainly was never an active pursuit, although I do remember being a kid and always thinking, the funnest job would be like to be an inventor, just invent things. So maybe there's an entrepreneurial route there, but usually it was to get myself out of chores. So I, want to invent a way to like take care of a chore that I didn't want to do anymore. But I'd say probably a large part of it was my introduction into tech, right? Just coming in and seeing this guy Tom and creating this company called Workfire from nothing. It was just such an exciting ride. He had this vision and then put a team around it, and there's investors, and there's a lot of money in tech. There's no question. So you kind of get a little bit of dazzled by how big the industry is and how big these companies can grow. And then certainly moving to Silicon Valley, there's a mentality in Northern California, in that sort of 40 or 50 mile strip between San Jose and San Francisco, that nothing is impossible. You just don't hear people say, you can't do that, or you don't even hear people say, I wish I could do this. They just do it. And we hear about the big examples like Elon Musk and Tesla right now, or SpaceX and Steve Jobs with Apple and Pixar. But that happens on a scale, from small to those size companies all the time in Silicon Valley. People just do things. You go to Starbucks and you listen in San Francisco, and people are talking about, creating Airbnb and creating Dropbox. And I mean,
it's hard to comprehend, isn't it?
It is. It's mind-boggling. There's just this can-do attitude. There's no limits. So I guess, you spend enough time there and a little bit of that rubs off on you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Are there any entrepreneurs or entrepreneurially-like people in your family, Jason?
I certainly, my dad was an entrepreneur. He not on the same sense that that we traditionally think of, like in tech or anything like that, but he was, created his own businesses. It was in excavation and things like that, but loved working for himself and loved the opportunity to, and worked very, very hard as well, which is certainly a part of being an entrepreneur. So that was a big part of it, but maybe not necessarily in the same background, like on the technology side.
Well, I'm glad you explained that part, because as people who watch this show and people who know me know that I repeatedly talk about the sense of clarification of what entrepreneurship is really all about. The two key guideposts for entrepreneurship, as you know, Jason, is innovation and creativity. Nothing more, nothing less. However, that being said, I often say foolishly, or better stated, whimsically, if you buy a hot dog stand and give your hot dog products a silly name, the Jason dog and the Joel dog and the Tim dog, there's something innovative and creative about that. And if as a result of that, you generate customers, more sales, and thus more profits, that's what entrepreneurship is all about.
I couldn't agree
just
more.
Nice and simple.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate anyone that's willing to take a risk and do something for themselves and do something with themselves. It's all the same, and you face the same challenges if you're running a Japa dog stand downtown Vancouver, or if you're running, IBM. You face the same challenges, maybe on a different scale, and you get paid a lot differently. But
I'll say.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you see the future for your company, the new company you started in the Okanagan? We've talked earlier when we sat down together that it appears that the future is bright, because better than I. When I met you, I remember our conversations in your office talking about building a technology community in the Okanagan. We talked about that. We talked about sort of taking charge, taking the bull by the horns in the Okanagan. We only need to walk a block from where we're sitting today in this studio to see the big Kelowna Innovation Center, mega $1 million project, and a kitty corner to that, the Interior Health multi-million-dollar centralized location as well. But you drive around, forget about technology for a moment, just drive around the Okanagan, particularly the central Okanagan, and see all the new construction. That prompts me to think that, you know, the economy is alive and well, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing up for the foreseeable future, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you look downtown and you see 4 or 5 construction cranes around downtown Kelowna, that's a new sight, right? That's not something I think maybe we got a glimpse of that in 07, 08, but that was mostly residential construction. And right now we're seeing a lot of commercial and industrial construction, you know, municipal construction as well, the new RCMP headquarters downtown as well. And I, from a technology perspective, I think we have it's a very exciting time here compared to when I came back in 2008, where, you know, you could probably count on 2 hands the number of sort of active tech startups or capitalized tech startups in the central Okanagan. I couldn't even begin to count how many companies there are now. And then when you look at companies like FreshGrade, who just took institutional funding, and Community Sift, who also just took institutional funding, you know, like investment firm dollars coming into Kelowna, that's brand new. Like, that's not a thing that was happening in 2008. And you know, obviously we are starting to see some of the successes of really successful companies like Disney, or, you know, Club Penguin coming into Disney and stuff like that. All of those big successes have offshoots, right? You get people that get that experience. Now there's also a little more money in the community, people willing to invest, and it takes years. It doesn't happen overnight.
Sure it does, yeah.
But I think we're seeing that right now, and it's really exciting. So.
I was in the Kelowna Innovation Center the other day, Accelerate Okanagan, for a few minutes, and I was there at the threshold when that became a reality. I remember meeting the consultant who did the study that resulted in Accelerate Okanagan, which is, again, about 2 blocks from where we're sitting this moment. But when I was in there the other day, I noticed that it seemed to me, maybe I was just being foolish, but it seemed to me that the environment there in Accelerate Okanagan is changing rapidly. More new faces, it seems to be just pulsing with activity.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, no question about it. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be part of the creation of Accelerate Okanagan back when we brought the Okanagan Science and Technology Council and the Okanagan Research and Innovation Center together and formed sort of that pilot for what the innovation incubator looked like in Kelowna. And yeah, it's I mean, the office is full there. It's full of people. There's also 2 other shared office and accelerator incubators that are sitting in there right now as well, with CoLab and all of that, of course, Accelerate Okanagan will be moving over and taking residence in the new Okanagan Innovation Center, which
that's going to be
we'll see
something.
later this year. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's going to open this year?
Construction's slated to finish October, November timeframe.
Okay,
so,
okay.
Of course, there'll still be a lot of interior work to happen, but that's an amazing project.
Yeah.
So, nothing. I mean, there's nothing like that in British Columbia. Not to mention the Okanagan. That building is going to be a tourist landmark. Yeah, it is. It will be. It's going to have a lot of really neat stuff.
Okay, Jason, I think we'll take a short break and then pick it up when we come back. Well, we're back with Jason Richards, and we're going to continue to talk about technology in the Okanagan. Jason, a question that's been burning me since we turned on the camera this morning. What do you anticipate, or how do you anticipate generating market activity for your new company?
So, that's a great question. It's an area that I don't have a ton of experience in. So my last company was business to business, and this is business to consumer, but not even that. It's business to kid, which is our target demographic is 8 to 13. So originally, we are planning to work closely with the school districts, since a lot of the school districts are building curriculum that have social innovation or social entrepreneurship and, social awareness or social justice clubs all integrated in right from the grade sort of 3 or 4 levels all the way up to now there's actually a 20-hour volunteering requirement to graduate. So there's a lot of neat initiatives happening around sort of the social awareness space within the school districts, and our platform will provide a lot of content that's super relevant to what teachers and the school districts and private schools or kids in homeschool and even youth clubs will be working with. So right now we're spending a lot of time working with them to see how we can align with their objectives and then help to provide them with a platform that will be really useful in there. In addition, we'll be piloting in October this year what we're calling a community impact event. And the community impact event is an opportunity where we're going to throw basically a big outdoor party. It's going to be an outdoor party for kids, and the idea is we're going to bring along 12 to 15 nonprofit and charity organizations that are local and have local initiatives that kids care about. We break everything kind of into animals, environment, or people-based initiatives. And we're going to throw a big party. We're going to put live music. We're going to invite all these NPOs and charities to set up booths and activities. Kids are going to get a little social or community impact passport that they have to go and learn about what all these organizations do. And then we're going to have kids present on stage around some of the core causes that they care about. And in October, we've invited already over 1,700 kids to attend our first event. And the idea is to launch that as a series of events that covers communities both across Canada and the United States.
Terrific. I love the sound of that. Let's take a little sidestep for a moment, Jason. I'd like you to go back and talk a little bit about the company that you sold to the California company that, correct me if I'm wrong, that inspired you to move back from California back to the Okanagan.
Yeah, inspired is probably a little bit of a stretch. It was opportunistic, for sure. We had a company change happening with the company I was with. At the time, we were actually based in Seattle. Still working a lot of California.
Okay.
But living in Seattle, and so we were kind of close to home. And the company I was with was transitioning, and the direction they were going, I didn't see as a good fit for where I wanted to go. And so then we came back to British Columbia, came back to Canada to do something on our own. But Vineyard, that was Vineyard Networks. So
Vineyard Networks,
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Do you have any with you today, and on your new company, your current company? Do you have any of the, pardon my choice of words, any of the previous staff members that were with you from Vineyard Networks, and any other of your affiliations in the world of technology prior to?
No, actually, this is totally different space for me. So we've got a whole new group of people.
Okay.
We're taking a lot of advantage of all the great work and training that Disney's done here and Club Penguin's done for people that have a lot of experience in that youth market. But nobody from Vineyard.
Okay.
Awesome team. I'd work with them again, pretty much everyone from Vineyard in a heartbeat. But we're in such a different space right now that there's not a ton of fit from a technology side.
I had my eyes opened up when one of the first guests we had on this show is the two partners of Film Factory over on Richter.
Yep.
And they sat here, and I was amazed because I heard them say several times during the interview how successful Film Factory has become, and how all the different players have really congealed together, working together. And I thought that's kind of exciting because as John Summerland, the Okanagan Film Commissioner, would attest, we've got a lot of potential for the film industry in the Okanagan. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface of the potential for film and television.
Totally. And those guys are running a very cool little organization,
Yeah, they are.
at the film factory. And that used to be a candy factory of all things. From making candy back in the day to helping, lead the charge on what they're doing in the film industry and media industry here in Kelowna. So very cool.
Jason, I think we're going to go for another break, and then we'll pick it up and come back and talk more about yours and my immersion into the world of entrepreneurship. Jason, I think it's time in our program today to talk about our families. I come from an entrepreneurial family. You are involved in entrepreneurship in your family. And I'm interested, as I'm sure our viewers will be as well, knowing and understanding how entrepreneurship affects you and your wife and children and those around you.
Yeah, that's something that we don't talk a lot about, in the entrepreneurial kind of world is that. I mean, right from the get-go, part of my career has always been a ton of travel. And that's obviously put with 3 kids. And when I started, we had 3 young kids. When we first moved to the US, we had 2 young kids, and then we had a third one when we were down in the States. That puts a huge pressure on my wife, who really had to step up to take care of all of the real work at home while I was gallivanting around the world. And it really is. I mean, when you're traveling on your company's dime, right? You're staying in nice hotels and in all 4 corners of the world while she's at home raising 3 young kids. And that, I can't say enough about how important it was and how valuable it was to me that I felt so confident about having someone raising our family, that it was comfortable for me to travel. And I would travel for 3 to 4 weeks at a time.
Oh, okay.
And probably between 50 and 70% of the time I was on the road. So it was a really, really exciting time, but I mean, my wife killed it, right? And it's, I remember a time when my daughter was talking to one of her friends, and she looked at her friend sitting right in front of me. She was maybe 6, and she said, where does your dad go all the time? And she just said it so matter-of-factly, like that must be the life that every other kid experiences, is their dad's just gone all the time. So yeah, that was interesting. It created quite a different environment, and my wife was a trooper. She did an amazing job. So we've got 3 great kids now, and
we ought to have an awards program for the wives. Entrepreneurial wives of the Okanagan.
Yeah, entrepreneurial wives. Period.
Yeah. Period.
You can't. You just can't imagine what that's like for anyone either, right? Anyone running a business.
Yeah.
Plus, you're bringing that work home all the time. You're bringing the pressure home all the time. So I've been very fortunate. I've got a great family at home. I've got wonderful kids. Got an amazing wife, and she's on her own entrepreneurial path too. So that's been a lot of fun.
Well, we've come to the end of our visit. Jason, I want to thank you very much on behalf of our viewers and our production team for visiting with us today. We look forward to seeing and hearing more about you and your adventures in the technology industry in the Okanagan. Thank you again for coming.
Thanks, Joel. My pleasure.
Bye-bye.